Well, good morning, everybody. It's 9:30, so let's start this session. It's very good to see so many people who've come to the session despite the nice gala evening we had yesterday evening. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I'm really glad that you're here to do some work. If you think this was the session where you could just sit, read your email, lean back, and sleep a little more from yesterday's exhaustion, you're wrong, and you better leave the room now because this is a working session. This session is meant for us to explain a little bit from the Strategy and Innovation Committee of GÉANT what we are doing on the strategy and our lines of thinking so far. And we've been doing, based on the last couple of versions, we've been doing presentations all over the place in various fora to get feedback and to get opinions of people from our community and from outside our community. In the upcoming 2 weeks we will use that feedback to deliver, hopefully, a final version. So I'm going to briefly introduce you to what we think GÉANT is, how we've written that down, and after that I'm going to take the hand mic, I'm going into the room, and I'm going to ask you, so you can prepare, you got a couple of minutes to prepare that, I'm going to ask you to give me one sentence only, in what you think the main item for the strategy for GÉANT the upcoming 7 years should be. So the first question you ask me is, what do you mean by GÉANT? With GÉANT, in this case, we mean the community. And the community, of course, the strategy should be aimed at the community as a whole, including the users. However, we are not so arrogant as to presume that we can develop the strategy for our users. So the what in the strategy will certainly be focused at the community in the smallest sense, including the NRENs and bodies very close to the national research and education networks. So be warned, I will be in the room asking you for your opinion on that. The Strategy and Innovation Committee has been working on this strategy. Yeah, I have a pointer here. These are the people who are in that committee. I have the honor of chairing that, and today in the room I've seen Claudio, Martin is here in the room, Janos is here in the room, Alberto is in the room, and Niels is in the room. So we are well represented in this room. And if you have any further suggestions or questions after this session, you are welcome to approach these people and talk to them about it, and they will make sure that the comment is fed back into the committee. So, a couple of observations that we made as a committee on what GÉANT is. First of all, GÉANT is a collaboration. It's not an incorporation or something like that. It's a collaboration driven by consensus, while that might seem obvious, it's the basis of most things that happen in the internet is consensus driven, and I think it's a very good thing that we explicitly make ourselves aware that that is the way we work. We're trying to cooperate within GÉANT with 40 countries, and that is not an easy task, and if we don't do that by consensus, it would be very hard to move forward. it's collaboration of NRENs. Is it only NRENs? No. Several other parties who are important to that collaboration, first and foremost the users, of course. But GÉANT in itself is a collaboration of NRENs that are focused to bring services to users without any boundaries or borders, and therefore we collaborate in GÉANT. Therefore, GÉANT is not just another multinational internet service provider. In GÉANT, the business is driven by the community and not by the desire to make profit. In GÉANT, innovation is one of the first and foremost things that we have in the agenda, because all NRENs have innovation first and foremost on their agenda. And innovation percolates up through from the bottom to the top, and we try and create propositions out of that, and then work on those and deliver services back to the community. GÉANT is also a long-term collaboration. It's not a project. Well, it started out as a project that was meant for only a couple of years, but it worked so well that this is turned into a much more long-term collaboration to make sure that in Europe we provide infrastructure and services to our users that help them get the best out of their research and education. This is a somewhat more debatable one. At least this is the one I usually get most of the reactions to. We defined it as GÉANT as a franchise owned by an alliance of NRENs. We've got a lot of feedback on the word franchise. It's probably by those people who eat often at McDonald's. But we mean this in the positive sense. It's a franchise that is owned by an alliance of NRENs, it enables NRENs to share assets at a European scale and to operate from Europe as an entity to the world outside of Europe. And GÉANT is defined by Europe, so it's a European collaboration. Of course, GÉANT is focused also connecting to the rest of the world and offering our users connections to any place in the world. But the community has been created inside Europe with a similar regulatory environment, shared values, shared funding possibilities, and that defines GÉANT in that respect. One more slide about setting the scene. What makes us, what influences our strategy, and what are the things that we have to keep in mind? And these are what I would call the outside influences, because first and foremost the things that drive our strategy are of course the users, and if you've been here this whole week, then in the first plenary this week you've heard in my view very good talk on how research is going to change is already changing and is going to change over the next couple of years, and what kind of demands that puts onto networks and services. Tuesday's keynote speakers, as well as Lord David Putnam yesterday, clearly pointed out what education, how education is changing and needs to change, and what that puts on demands on our network, and that of course is one of the most driving forces. And that's all part of really the knowledge economy, as we termed it, and as you can find it in many EU publications, that is giving rise to an enormous explosion of data. And digitization, archives digitized, sensors getting out there, assembling all kinds of information. I was at the TNO laboratories not too long ago, and they have developed a very small sensor that is totally self-sustainable. It gets its energy through a very small solar cell. It has it will, as soon as you manufacture it, it will search for a Wi-Fi signal. It will obtain an IP address. It will start sending data, and you can work with that. The meaning is that a sensor like that can be manufactured for well below 10 cents. And what you can do then is you take a truckload of those things, and you drive over a road with fresh asphalt. What's the tar, with fresh tar surface, and you just drop those things over several kilometers, and then you have 10,000, 100,000 of those things all coming online at the same time and giving you all the information you need about that road, the temperature, the pressure, etc. And you can monitor that. Or you can put them in a dike like we do in the Netherlands to monitor the strength of the dike. But imagine what happens to a network when all of a sudden 100,000 IP addresses come online from 1 minute to another, and how you're going to deal with that amount of data. So, as we've seen the last couple of days, that has profound implications for research and education, and that will demand a new kind of information logistics to integrate the electronic infrastructures. And of course, it's not only information that is affected, but with the advent of 3D printers, even manufacturing will be affected by this development. And what about real time? So these sensors, if you want to deal with the information they gave in real time, process that in real time, model that in real time, and then visualize it back to the user in real time so that you can see what's happening in an environment, that poses yet another demand on networks, like very low latency and no jitter and stuff like that. So all new kinds of things are coming at us, and that will drive a change and innovation. Where did I leave my pointer? So this is a little bit what we're confronted with, and what we as a Strategy Innovation Committee have been thinking about and discussing with various partners. And before I tell you and show you what we've come up with, I now like to know what you would have come up with. So, like I said, I'd like one sentence what you think should be the main item in the GÉANT strategy. And my fellow SIG members can relax. I won't ask you, because if you haven't said it up to now, then that's a little bit late. But Dorte, I will start with you.
Well, I think creating the European Communications Commons is the main target, to get access for every talent in Europe and beyond to collaborate freely and have access to all the resources necessary to do that.
That sounds like a very lofty goal. Joseph.
I'm going to address it in my short talk, but And my message is that the lowest layers definitely will not, how to say, save the knowledge economy, but are necessary for it.
Okay.
Okay, so as a university that I represent, I would like to see... Okay, I'm Yanis Feneris. I'm from the University of Thessaloniki. It's in Greece, in North Greece. So as a university, I would like to see this real collaboration between GÉANT, the NRENs, and the universities and end users. I can see there is one gap that the universities and end users don't really know what the GÉANT strategy is and what they can, the advantages that they can gain from that. I would like to see that gap, get reduced.
Okay. I see a big task for an NREN there because they're in between and they should fill that gap. So.
Well, I would say, as the EU said when we had our review, I would say world-class leadership. We should keep that world-class leadership and maybe go over.
Okay. I hope you will contribute to that.
We very often hear that bandwidth is not a problem. I'm not quite sure of that because sensor, for example, what you were speaking about, saying that there will be a change in bandwidth demand, latency, and so on too. But I really think that bandwidth is still not a problem, but still very important. Inexpensive and layer 0, 1, and so on must be. GÉANT must be.
That must be the core of GÉANT.
The core of GÉANT, because without that there is nothing possible.
Okay, good point. I think going back to this side.
Tomasz Wolniewicz, Nicholas Copernicus University, Torun, Poland, and also Pioneer Network. Well, I would say it would be great if GÉANT could not only be let's say the node of excellence, but also something visible to the end user, that we somehow manage to provide services which are not just for the NRENs, maybe not just for organizations, but for the end users as well, which is right. Probably something we don't have on a large scale.
Do you see GÉANT delivering those services directly to the end users or through the Pioneer Network? Well,
I would think that delivering them directly would be good for the name of the GÉANT, but of course doing it through NRENs is necessary, but still keeping some visibility of GÉANT I think makes a lot of sense.
Okay, clear. Can you pass it through your... No, you...
I'm from Poland and from the same...
yeah, but you have your own opinion. Okay.
Okay, Ajay Makan from Sandrin in South Africa. So for me it's about the exclusiveness from a non-European NREN perspective and how we that are not a European NREN, how we're able to connect and communicate and be part of that.
Andreas
Dudler from Switch. For me, GÉANT is enabling collaboration.
I'm David McLaughlin from the ETH Zurich and his customer. And, well, I'd like the GÉANT to have good communication and relations with the NRENs.
Okay.
I think that's important.
Mark O'Leary from Janet. I'd like to see us delighting the customers through the minimum possible interventions.
Wow, that's a big challenge. Can we then also ask the customers not to intervene with us?
Eskil Swan from Swedish SWAMID, the Identity Federation in Sweden. I would like John to focus on making a better e-structure for my digital identity, since there are too many initiatives in the area today.
Okay. That, I can make you happy. That's one of the big points in our strategy. That's absolutely the case. So Janos, you don't get to say anything.
Ralf Niederberger, Research Center Jülich Supercomputing Center. I make it simple, and that's the problem for you, supporting users in their realistic needs and helping to overcome the digital divide. I know that's not really simple to do. You have to help the countries. You have to help the countries which don't have much bandwidth. You also have to help the people which need from today not realistic bandwidths, 100 gigabit, 1 teragig. And it's not easy to do, but always be on a level that we say we can do it.
Right. So a great diversity, both the developing countries as well as the advanced countries that need with advanced users. Yes, Thomas.
Yeah, I'm Thomas Brunner from Switch. I want to just continue the thing before. We have a long history in our community of somehow finding a fair cost sharing. And currently with the diversity we see, it's getting harder and harder still to have something which is seen as fair between the small and the big ones. And I see some danger, especially in the financial crisis, and so I think it's an important task we still should really try to be all together and have really, don't lose the solidarity we currently have.
I think that's a very important. Can you hand it back to your neighbor behind you?
Yes, Luis from IMP Brazil. I think that I'd like to see more worldwide enabling for GÉANT. I don't see that from the US or from China. GÉANT is not a country organization, so I'd like to see if you help the worldwide, for sure you will help Europe also. And you have this whole unique opportunity.
I absolutely agree with you on that, I think.
So I'm from KDDI Corporation from Japan. My name is Isawa Rai. So as one of back to the relation to the Asian country and to exchange the opinion in the technology and that kind of thing is a very important factor, I think.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going up. Don't worry, I'll get to that side later on. Or do worry, depending on your perspective.
Nothing to say.
Nothing to add? Sure. You can't complain later, you know that, right? So.
I'm here to hear.
Okay. Wolfgang Pempe, DFN, Germany. It would be nice if GÉANT could be made a kind of institution, a sustainable, a kind of RDD department for Tirrenia/Dante, or might be an even bigger structure.
Interesting.
Can I say anything, Eric? Am I allowed
Yeah,
to say
of course. Why not?
So I'm Michael Enrico, CTO at Dante. Okay, so from a technical perspective, I'd like to see a lot of the technical output of the project be more relevant on the international standardization and open source development scene. Much more active in there.
So, you sure you don't want to say something?
Hello, I'm Carl Meyer, also from Dante. From a product perspective, I'd like to see GÉANT focus on the kind of services that can't or won't be provided by the private PTTs and telcos around the world, so that we actually focus on delivering unique value into the marketplace rather than simply trying to be a Me Too kind of organisation.
Kati, you want to say something about GÉANT? Then I'm going into this direction. You sure have an opinion about this.
Okay, I just walked in, but I'm trying to get the sense of what you are saying.
The question is one sentence on what you think GÉANT should be doing, what the main task in the strategy should be.
Okay, let me think about it.
Okay, pass it on to...
I'm Valentino Cavalli from Tirreno. Well, I'd like GÉANT to be effective in leveraging on the collective collaboration assets as well as on the individual assets of all the partners, NRENs.
That's a good one.
I'm Michal Mazal from Surfnet, Prague, Česká republika. I'm voting GÉANT for the integration of interconnection of infrastructures.
Okay, I'm going to do the whole back row here.
I'm Dan Perry from GÉANT. I've just walked in, so I've only just got the question, but assuming that I understand it right, what I want from GÉANT is to take out all the barriers, all the blocks, anything which stops cloud services being entirely enabled across all the area, be that European connectivity, Eastern connectivity, American connectivity, all of it. Get it all working so that there are no barriers.
Sounds like we can do that tomorrow.
Chris Phillips, Canada, Canary. And really interesting question. From my perspective, I think the ability to focus the activity of collaboration. Sometimes there's a paradox of choice on where to collaborate. And so the other thing is about the act of improving collaboration, because new entrants, just like someone coming into the room here, may not know the availability of tools. So an information commons or a collaboration commons, maybe some education on just how to capitalize on the tools would be helpful.
Great. Give it to Rainer.
Okay. Rainer Kaisermasur from Defense Germany. I like the strategy itself being technology agnostic, actually, so that we don't need to, well, that we are prepared to keep up new technologies and support them without actually going to change the document or the strategy itself.
Yeah. Pass it to...
Galine Bedeux from Corient, Germany. I would support all what has been said in terms of infrastructure, so preparing the infrastructure within Europe, but also getting to research sites like there is in Australia, South Africa, which is the SKA project, where the European research community will benefit. So really preparing the infrastructure for European but international collaboration.
Okay. Niels, you just walked in, but the question is a one-sentence statement on what you think is the main item for a strategy for GÉANT.
We should enable the collaboration between NRENs delivering services. It's currently way too easy, that's 2 sentences already. It's currently way too easy, even within the GÉANT project, to sort of continue building your own thing. We should only grant and help and subsidize projects that deliver one service used by multiple NRENs at the same time.
I keep one recurring theme, just a side observation from myself, is we need to get rid of that not invented here syndrome. Erik Jan?
Erik Jan Bos, Nordunet. For me, a very important aspect of GÉANT is the collaboration of the NRENs and the service delivery to the NRENs. And for me, that has 2 important elements. The first one is that NRENs are very good at creating services and delivering them to their constituency. And that means they're also in a good position to deliver them to other NRENs that can deliver it to their constituency. And services that can be better done collectively on the top, I would say, only those services we should deliver from the top. These 2 aspects must be in the next GÉANTs.
Kees de Laat, University of Amsterdam. I have actually 3 sentences which I will separate by commas.
Erik Jan separated them by the word "and."
Yeah.
That will also work.
So what I would like to see is a visionary and open infrastructure that users do not notice as long as they have it. So as long when it is not there, they will notice it. So, but that should be an open infrastructure that they don't notice as long as they have it. I would remind you that the process of doing science, what the real scientists in universities do, is independent of the dynamics which we are all quarreling about and dealing with down here. The process of science is really independent. So the big next thing is data infrastructures. The scientists are talking about data infrastructures, not about bigger pipes, faster networks, more supercomputers. The rest, including the networks, sink away in a misty clouds. So think about this.
So, but it still needs to work and it needs to be paid for.
Just like security, you won't notice. You will notice when you don't have it, but you won't notice if
Right.
it's broken.
Right, that's clear.
Slavik Samar from the Czech Republic. I think we need to collaborate more between NRENs because there are a lot of groups which are doing exactly the same stuff. So the collaboration will be much more better.
Okay. Pass it on to your colleague there.
Okay, two things. First of all, I think that the Wi-Fi and mobile and these technologies are really changing the way people are connected to the network and the way they are accessing the network. So regardless of what it should say, I think that there's a new term, wire-free strategy, or wire-free part should be a part of the strategy, regardless of whatever we decide not to step into or leave it to NRENs or do something there. And another thing is a tricky part. There is this intricate balance of crossing the domains up to the user and keeping the entities independent to serve, or keeping entities independent so that they can serve their constituency and use the resources in a federated manner.
Right. That's the issue that came up earlier, like how do you deliver services to end users without bypassing universities in the middle and NRENs, and still make sure that they know what GÉANT services are there. You know, it's a difficult issue, I think. Can you pass it on to your...
Hi, I'm Robert Stoll from DFN Germany, DFN Operations. My point is that GÉANT, I see GÉANT as a point to make or to improve collaborations and networking, at least with the eastern and southern part of the world, so Africa, Asia.
Okay.
Yep. Hi, I'm Rodrigo from Red Clara, Latin America. I think that maybe there's a current concept going on here that it's important that you might not have used, or maybe you're using it, I don't know, because I'm new to this world, but I think it's called end users experience. How they perceive GÉANT and the way the GÉANT involves themselves with the NRENs, with the end users and with their partners, right? I think the word franchise is really good because you get to have your own model, but you adapt it, right, in each country. And that's the main thing. I think it's a really nice concept. So for me, it's the end user. It's really important what he said. I did not get his name, but the way they perceive the service, even if they have it or they don't. So that's for me a really nice concept. Thank you.
Thank you. Ilse.
Ilse Koning from Surfnet. Actually, Erik Jan said a lot of what I wanted to say. For me, GÉANT is about enabling collaboration, where we use central and federative services. And also, I think that every few years we have to see if the services that we deliver are still adding value, and if we need to continue or stop and start other services.
Right.
Yeah, this is David Foster from CERN. I think what GÉANT as a strategy should do is to concentrate on its core competencies, and that is providing the enabling technology that connects users and service providers. And a little bit as Kees de Laat said, it has to do this in a transparent, simple, and evolutive manner. So it's not about competing, it's about providing this necessary infrastructure, these necessary technologies, really to connect a wide range of service providers, commercial, non-commercial, publicly funded, of various types, with an increasingly diverse set of user communities, universities, researchers, etc.
Hi, I'm Gabriela from Ramona Tillich. And for me, or in my opinion, the main focus is the collaboration between different NRENs. And I would like to see the delivery of services and, as Rodrigo said, the opinion of the end users.
Okay. You have to wait a little bit. I'm going back up.
Well, I'm Gitte Kuska and I'm from Denmark. I don't think I really have much more to add except that, once again, providing a good network, connecting to every part of the world when it's necessary, and providing collaboration between the NRENs. That's a lot of people have said already.
Yeah, but it's good to know that there's more people who like that.
I'm Anne Harding from Switch, and I'm also a GÉANT activity leader. And I think with a strategy, it's very important to set out sort of our long-term anchor for how we should operate and what we work towards. And for me, our job is to enable all of these teachers and educators and learners that we've heard over the last few days to do their jobs. And we can best do that by being pragmatic and focusing on the strengths that we're able to deliver collectively, sometimes centrally, sometimes. And I think as Ilse said, sorry, and review them constantly to make sure they're still the correct ones.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm David Krupp from NICAF, Dutch Subatomic Physics Lab. What I see, in practice, I'll take a user standpoint. People, students move around, researchers are global, or at least European scope. But if you want to get something working at a European level, but it's divided into various silos in each of the NRENs, to get a collective service which you can say, it works everywhere, and regardless of which collaboration member starts asking for the service, you get the same thing. I don't see that happening yet. So I would say, make sure that the service portfolios and the way it's offered to migrating and distributed users is coherent throughout Europe and throughout GÉANT.
Okay, so that's close to the data infrastructures that that Kees was mentioning.
I have no further comment.
What you agree with all the okay? But you know, no complaints, right? Just no 10 days turn back guarantee and stuff like that. Roland.
Yeah, Roland Hedberg, Sweden. I'm task leader for one of the research activities within the GÉANT 3+ project. So no surprise, I'm very interested in that part. So I think that GÉANT should be world leading. That is, we should really do sort of top-line research, which means that we may not always know if we are going to succeed or not. But at the same time, when we succeed, and we should do this in an open manner, that is, we should do open source, we should do it within the standardization organization that exists, we should have a plan for how to keep these things going, turning them into services, handling maintenance, version control, or everything like that. I don't see that today.
Okay. And then, of course, like Ilse said, if the commercial world does it better than we do, then you should also be able to at some point say, Snowden has certainly changed the playing field there, right? So.
Paul Maurice from Dante. I see it very simply, but then I'm not a techie. I think we should be and do whatever our end users want us to be, because without them, ultimately, we're kind of blowing in the wind. I know it's not that simple, I really do, but I think that's ultimately what it should be focused on.
giving here before Tor gets to say something. That sounds really good and lofty, but if I write that down, I go back to the NREN PC and I say, this is a strategy of GÉANT. We should just do what our users want us to do. I think they send me back and say, come back with something a little bit more concrete.
I'll give you something more concrete if you want, but not now.
Oh, okay. Tor? No reclamations, right?
I'm Dave Massoud from Malta. Basically, we're a small country, we're a small NREN, but what I would say is more leverage with non-NRENs, that is commercial suppliers. One example is publishers. Collaborative procurement, for example, would help a lot because a lot of funds go there. I think most of the budget goes to supply research material to the researchers, and it's quite a lot of funds. And also on the technical side, pushing more certain things to the suppliers. For example, authentication. Like most publishers do have integration, for example, for the UK, for the big NRENs, but for the small NRENs, they say we're not there yet. Basically, we cannot give you shibboleth. We cannot give you. We have to use their own identity or IP-based authentication, that sort of thing.
Okay, so we should leverage our negotiation power at the European level to make sure that advantageous things like saying thou shalt use shibboleth, etc., is also applied to the smaller NRENs. Okay.
Hello, I am Antonio Carlos from RNP Brazil. In my point of view, GÉANT should be more thinking more global. In your services like EduGain, I think the work that you making together in projects like Elsira, fostering EduRun and Identity Federation in Latin America is a good example. And this type of thing should be reflected in the governance model in services like EduGain.
Okay. Your colleague over there.
Hi, Leandro from Brazil also. I agree with South American friends here. I think GÉANT should be working more globalized. But another point of view is to try to work more in marketing. Not propaganda, but marketing. Understand who are our customers and what do they need. Something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Michel at Surfnet. I think we could help research projects even better, making sure that what they deliver can be turned into viable services. So help them from the beginning to make sure that what the results are easily changed into services. And I think we should move up to the stack more. Wire-free cloud service. I think a good examples our users are going off campus, and we should enable them to learn in anywhere, any place, anytime.
Can you pass it on?
Hi, I'm Tokumoto from Japan. I'm first time to attend a Terra meeting, so I'd like to study the follow of the Terra strategy.
Okay.
Thank you. Tor Holmen Unnet. GÉANT is a community, and we have to support the universities with services like collaboration and for research and research infrastructure. We can do this by real collaboration internally, and we have to be there at the right time, I think. Okay. Not too late.
Ingrid.
Ingrid Melva from Uninet in Norway. I believe GÉANT should be an infrastructure building community. It's our duty to build infrastructure, and by infrastructure I mean not only the fibers, but everything that has to be there for the end users to do their job, and for the universities to collaborate both on education and on research.
My name is Michael Foley. I work for the World Bank, so I tend to think on the global side rather than the European side. And our concern is the support of the establishment and development of NRENs in developing countries. So when I look back to GÉANT, maybe I was listening to some sessions and people saying, well, our concern is our clients in our own country. And so you're thinking global but acting local, as the old adage says. But could I turn that on its head and say, think local, look after your own people, but act global. And as our friend DFN said, look to the south and help support the establishment of NRENs. And you can do that by just knowledge sharing. You don't have to pay money and stuff like that, but share your expertise and it'll be a better world. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And nice meeting you, by the way. We've exchanged email before.
Hi, my name is Tomoaki Takata from ICT Japan, and maybe that could be similar to other person's opinion, but I just would like to keep enhancement with networking with non-European countries. And I always personally really strongly feel that Dante's management people is doing really a good amount of the effort to making a network in human relations. So I would like to keep it.
Okay, thank you.
Jean-François Guézelou, Renater. Difficult to add something new. I would say going on global integrated AAI instead of collection of AAI.
Okay. Not new, but very important.
When I talk to people which are outside of the GÉANT,
who are
Daniela Pin from the Leibniz Supercomputing Center.
Okay.
So when I talk to people which are outside of GÉANT and they really don't know what it is, so you better get to know each other or have more publicity, I don't know.
But my question is it necessary?
Sometimes it might help to develop further infrastructure services.
Okay. This always reminds me, just as an aside, I remember when I was at Surfnet a long time back, we did a user survey, and we asked the users, which network are you using, just to show whether the users knew they were using Surfnet. And the answer we got most was Telnet.
Hello, Fulvio Galeazzi from Italy. It was mentioned before, but only very briefly, maybe GÉANT is not alone in the vacuum. There is other entities around, which is commercial operators providing net connectivity and services, and things are happening outside GÉANT, standards are being defined. So I think that GÉANT, being a medium-term project, medium-long-term project, has the scale and should have the mandate to not only be a European product, but act, lobbying, influencing, helping setting standards, and making sure that the specificity of the researchers is taken into account at highest level.
Okay. You're not allowed to say something, but you're allowed to give the microphone to Lajos.
So Lajos Barents from the Hungarian NREN. My keywords are innovation, stability, and sustainability. In the last 20 years, we have proven that we are able to keep a good balance between innovation and stability of our infrastructure and services. As far as sustainability is concerned, this is a repeatedly appealing issue and question. And I think there is an important point here. One of the major elements of sustainability is financial sustainability. And GÉANT can remain sustainable only if all the partners can keep sustainability. For this, we need a business model, and this business model is still missing. We are strong as far as technical issues are concerned. We can manage as far as organization and management issues are concerned. We are weak as far as the business model of our activities are concerned. There should be stress and focus on that in the next period of time. Thanks.
Okay.
Lucy Lynch, the Internet Society, and I'm going to echo something both Swamed and Ingrid said, which is I think you should really be leveraging the work you've already done on identity and trust management and building infrastructure that supports seamless collaboration both inside GÉANT partnerships and externally.
Okay, thank you.
Kees Neggers, Surf. Before saying what the strategy should be, it must be very clear what it is. And I now understand, Eric, that GÉANT is a collaboration. But listening to the audience here, many still think it's a project. Others still think it's a network. Others still think it's services. As long as that confusion exists around the word GÉANT, it's impossible to collaborate among all the NRENs, which of course is absolutely necessary. And so you have to define that collaboration very clearly. And maybe GÉANT is a dangerous word to use it. Maybe you could use the word Terena for that as well. Because I think that was the original purpose of Terena already. And then, of course, the collaboration, as has been said by several, is to serve users. And NRENs are, of course, well established, and they are divided among national boundaries, and the users are no longer. And that is a challenge to that collaboration. Therefore, the collaboration is even more important than ever. And even so, users don't need just the network to collaborate. They need much more, and they are much more interested in what's behind the network. And so I think also that collaboration can only succeed if it is much more inclusive with users and other service providers for these users. And the strategy should accommodate that.
Yes, okay.
Thank you. My name is Mihai Heder from Hungary, Budapest, and I work for a research institute, the Computer Research Institute, but I also happen to be a lecturer at the university, the Budapest Tech, and I decided to talk about the needs of the youngsters that I teach. I happen to have well over 1,000 students a year, and what I see is that their needs are vastly underrepresented in these discussions. At the TNC, at least I had heard 3 times some really simplistic assumptions about the youngsters, that they are children of the digital age or something like that, and it's terrible. We don't really know what their needs are, and these assumptions are making it worse. And so their needs are not represented. I'm sure that as a researcher I could get like 100 terabytes of storage if I needed right now in Hungary, but if I'm a student I couldn't really get 100 gigabytes. So this is one. I have 2 minor points. So we should have some application that is targeted for them. Maybe it's an Erasmus portal that can be accessed by AI. Maybe some kind of storage, because companies are doing that. Congratulations for enrolling in Budapest Tech. There you have 100 gigabytes space at our company. And lastly, for the computer science students in particular, why is that spinning up a SAML entity is not mandatory for the education, or setting up an EduROM endpoint, or just seeing some slides about the GÉANT network in the map or something like that. It doesn't really cost a lot. I could do it if I had some course materials, for instance.
Right.
Thank you.
Christoph Graf from Switch. I've got a number of roles to take on, and I've got one target. The target is the global collaboration commons of research and education, and the roles is enable, build, run, partner, support, whatever it takes just to make it happen and stay.
Aurelija Gefenienė, Vilnius University Lithuania, and to the words which were said about GÉANT collaboration, infrastructure, federated services, I would like to add some very concrete suggestion. Maybe we need to pay more attention for the research data to help those researchers via NRENs not only to collect data with guaranteed data transfer, but also to save them and to share, what is very important. And data are our global property.
Did I skip you? Oh, no, I hit you. Oh, I'm getting confused here.
Okay, Mihai Misaros, NIF HungerNet. I would like to see more focus from GÉANT to collaboration and media strategy, and especially support for large-scale deployment of easy-to-use and open, standard-based, not walled garden, AI-integrated real-time communication and collaboration.
Okay. Matthew, you can go last.
Yeah, Matthew Scott from Dante. I think GÉANT should be connecting all research and education users with a full portfolio of services, and they should be innovative, relevant, sustainable, and really also to remember what we're trying to do to drive discovery, invention for societal benefit.
So anyone in the room who has passed and now has serious regrets and wants to say something, or has a second thought, or wants to add something?
I would like to add, I'm working in 3 projects in the PRAISE, in the EUDAT and HPP project, networking part. And if I just heard the comment, we should know what GÉANT is. I think the user isn't interested. Is it a project? Is it a network? Is it a corporation? The user wants to have an answer for his question. I need a network for this or that application or project. And I don't want to have 5 answers if I ask 3 NRENs and additionally Dante. I want to have 1 answer for a perfect network.
Okay, so that means whether you ask the one NREN or the other NREN or directly to Dante, you want to get the same answer.
Yes.
One sentence.
2.
Or you put an and in between.
If I look at the network, so I'm Bill Johnston from ESNet in the U.S. ESNet's one of the 2 big national R&E networks. Internet 2 is the other one. If I look at the networking situation in the U.S. and the networking situation in Europe, the biggest difference is the existence of the major research and education exchange points called gigapops in every single major city in the U.S. And so this, for instance, is why the U.S. university community and ESNet, Internet 2, were all connected to Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google a long time ago, because they could easily come to these exchange points, which are completely open exchange points. And they're typically operated by by a university or university-related. And anybody can connect. I mean, if a large school needs to get to a different facility and it's more convenient to go through the exchange point, they just connect to the exchange point. It's a much more flexible, I think, and open networking environment than here. The second thing I would say on a totally different topic is in watching GÉANT, and I've been on the review committee for four years, I think. The thing that I noticed the most is that there is not nearly a tight enough coupling to the end customer base. The large, we hold requirements workshops twice a year, and we go and ask all of our customers, what are you going to be doing in the future in the next 2, 3, and 5 years that requires network capabilities? And this is not just capacity, but reach. I mean, if you're going to generate a lot of data, where does that data have to go? What's the size of the collaboration? And this provides absolutely invaluable forward planning information for the network.
Thank you. I think those were all, each and every one of those comments was certainly valuable, and I hope Niels has been typing so fast that he's captured most of those. I note that I missed one word, which is quite prominent in the strategy as we have written it down, which I haven't heard, Anybody guess what that word is? Security. Security, exactly. I haven't heard the word security. I heard AAI several times, but that's only a small part. But oh, then you did it so fast that I didn't hear it. Oh, just like insecurity, but not security as an important issue for the GÉANT strategy. Is it because security is not important, or is it because you all think security should be implicit? Christoph.
Well, I think there is even another word which is more important, and that's trust. And security you can consider as a means to reach that or to support it.
Right. All trust is in the strategy too. In fact, it's even in the new mission we propose. Anybody else who wants to remark that something is missing out here? Dorte?
It's not really, I think, anything is missing. I think it was really, really interesting to hear. But you teased me a little bit and said my big statement was a bit lofty. Of course, I'm bound by the GÉANT expert group report and the goals that we stated there. But I would actually like to say that I think quite a few people came then with more concrete points that underlines this. And I don't really think that is in the draft strategy the way I know it right now. I mean, there was somebody who said that the needs of the youngsters are vastly underrepresented here, and the applications for young people should get much more focus. And learn anywhere, it was said. We have to really get out to the learners and the teachers, I think it was said also. And I think that is also very important. And this, of course, is very much part of this communication commons idea. Actually, there are also other parts of what was being said that is part of the communication commons, but I think I'd like to stress this end of it, because I think that is really something we haven't worked on very much yet.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I was also struck by your comment about youngsters and thinking how we can provide Snapchat for students or something like that. No, I'm serious. I think we should be well aware and ask our universities to see if they can come up with what are the demands for those kind of users, and have a serious look at that. Let me show you a little bit about what we have come up with, if I can find my pointer here. How much time have we got left? Oh, you finally made your mind up. That's interesting, because we heard a lot of things about connecting to Africa, etc. So I presume you will be saying something about that.
Yes, thank you. I'm Tiwonge Banda from UbuntuNet. One thing that we've been thinking about, I don't know how it would work within the framework of GÉANT and maybe all the other regional or national networks. It's probably a challenge. How do we get to the researcher? In some countries, they don't have NRENs, but they have active researchers, active in several collaborations. So how do we get maybe GÉANT or other networks to get to these? They may not have good networks, but they are active in research, and their input could be important. So how I would like to see something developed or maybe extended to make sure that even these isolated researchers, their input is, or they are participating in global collaborative activities. So something like that.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. And actually, there's one person from the World Bank here, and I wasn't at the World Bank a couple of months ago. This is exactly one of the issues that I try to address there with the people from the World Bank, saying, you should we can do a lot as a community from a GÉANT perspective in reaching out, but I think that we need support at a political and economic level to make sure that those kind of things can really come to being. And I hope that the World Bank will take up stimulating NRENs research networks and communication between them, because I think it helps any country to grow in its development. You wanted to add something to that, Bill?
No, I want to pick up your comment on security.
Okay.
There are three very different aspects of security in the networking world that are quite different. One is the security of the core network, the operational status of the core. And I will say that the review committee beat up GÉANT in 4 years in a row. And the last time I was on the committee, they're finally starting to get serious about looking at the various aspects of protecting the control plane and the core. The second aspect of security is protecting the interior of the campuses. And I think in Europe you do a fairly good job of that. The CERTs and the various different NRENs are quite active in working with the campuses and with each other. And that's probably the appropriate approach. The third aspect of security is how you, and this is the hardest one, is how you provide the tools for the end users to access capabilities, whether it's an instrument or a software system, and this is very hard because it involves a common authentication system. It involves authorization systems that have a certain amount of commonality, and then those have to be integrated into the portals to the end applications. And so I think those three topics have to be addressed separately.
Right. Well, and the third one is even more difficult because doesn't only have to be integrated in a portal, because the web part of that is easy, but it also nowadays needs to be integrated in non-web based stuff like applications, and that's where the difficult part is in my view. Okay. Let's now I've lost my pointer again, of course. So this is what we came up with in the Strategy and Innovation Committee. At the top you see the old GÉANT mission, which was to deliver world-class services with the highest level of operational excellence. And we've modified that, or we suggest to modify that, to provide an open, innovative, trusted, secure and reliable information infrastructure for the European knowledge economy. Now, some of you may say, hey, it says Europe in there, and we just commented that you should look broader than Europe and outside. But, of course, if you want to stimulate the European knowledge economy, one of the main things you need to do is to reach out to all the other economies and all the other countries so that you can communicate with them and grow the knowledge. So the focus of GÉANT is at Europe, because we are European countries, but that is not restricted to Europe. Keep losing that point. And this is the ambition that we thought should go with it. I'm not going to read it. I'll give you a couple of minutes to read it. You will notice that this is one sentence, like most of you had a very long one sentence. I saw the live of Ryan, yeah, and yeah. I love that scene where he says we should all be individuals, and then the whole crowd goes yes, and one person says no, I don't want to be an individual. Anybody want? I mean, I'm putting this up for criticism, so feel free to shoot. Well, Ingrid, if I would chop it up into 10 bullet points, but essentially saying the same, would that help?
Yes, it would be easier to read.
Yeah, but then you get 3 bullet points with very long sentences. Okay, we can skip the word the and in and that. Yes, yes.
Changing the word consensus by user-driven.
Repeat that in the mic, please.
Okay, what about changing the word consensus by user-driven or user-oriented collaboration?
It's not enough. There is a consensus.
Pass it to Lars.
A consensus is needed not just on behalf of the users, on behalf of the developers, on behalf of the operators of the infrastructure and the services, and of course the users as well. And I don't talk now about the funders. Thank you.
Yeah, but what about if the consensus of the NRENs is not providing the service a particular user or user community wants? What do you do then?
Well, we ignore the user, as we usually do.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand the last part of that, which also provided new and innovative possibilities to the world, with a capital W for some reason, leading knowledge economies. That seems a little exclusive to me. And so I suggest that you go back to the last slide and lengthen the sentence there and shorten the sentence here. On the European, at the very last bit in the last slide, you mentioned European. You could add in the context of global collaboration, just by adding in the global bit. And then rather than having the world, possibilities to the world leading knowledge communities, that means only to the leading ones, so not to the poor ones.
You should suggest skipping the word leading.
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit exclusive, or elitist maybe.
Right. We get rid of the capital, that shouldn't be too big a problem. Ingrid?
I was being nasty saying that consensus leads to very long sentences. Yes, and I apologize for that. And I'll try to be constructive, because what you have, you really have 4 bullet points. You have, there's a reasoning behind what we're going to do. We want to work in a certain way with a consensus-driven collaboration and contribute to innovation and the knowledge community. And then we want to do 4 things, which is deliver services, develop services, the ones needed by our community, access to knowledge, and enable collaboration. So you really have only 4 bullet points in there.
Yeah, I know, but we try to hide it in a long sentence.
Oh, why? Sorry for this entanglement.
Thank you for the suggestion. Kees.
So the word trust is mentioned several times, but trust, just like security, trust is also an overloaded term. So you have different ways you can deal with trust. Trust underlying authorization, and how do you set up trust frameworks, just like MasterCard has, so that I can rent, for example, rental car on the other end of the world. They trust something, but not necessarily me, but still there's a chain of trust. But if you state here, we do trust, we deliver trust, and so on, you in this sense, you have to earn trust. You cannot claim trust. You have to earn it. So you need to be very specific what you mean by the term trust in these kind of things. There's a second thing which I miss in this entire morning, in this entire discussion, and that seems, but I don't know, that will probably give me now the rotten tomatoes to my head. I miss the element of competition. It seems like we have this big GÉANT. It will be consensus driven. It will do everything in coalitions of the willing, or in after lengthy processes, discussions, ambition statements which you really cannot compile with any decent compiler, and so on. But it seems also there's no choice, or there's no world outside. Well, there's a big world outside. So I miss somehow the element of choice or competition. What if there are other services outside which are passing by this consensus-driven, slow-moving ship, because everything needs to be by consensus. While you have now outside a very fast-moving ICT industry, which has cycles which go much faster now than any decision procedure within the EU. I have now to write Horizon 2020 proposals, which get approved in half a year, which need to say what I will do in months 45 to 48 when the project is running. I mean, ICT is going much faster than that. So I miss somehow an element of competition.
Okay, point well taken. As to your first point, that we elaborate on the word trust, of course, in the written part of the strategy, and if we would do it in this short ambition, then the sentence would even become more longer than that. But we do elaborate on that. As to your second point, that's a very good point, and we try to address that in the strategy. I think I have a slide on that later on, and that comes back to really what Erik Jan has said before, that you sometimes you do things centrally, sometimes you do things federated, and certainly innovation sometimes works much better if you have just a couple of NRENs that have the same motivation at that point in time, have money, have the resources, they move forward. But the essential thing then is that once they achieve something, they need to bring that result back into the whole community. But they shouldn't wait with their innovation to get the consensus of 40 countries, because then indeed we run way and way behind. So that's a point well made.
Very small addition to what Erik said. Okay, go ahead. Very small addition to what you said, Erik. I think that is one of the key things that is missing from the ambition. So I would propose that you add text to that aspect. And maybe it's very simple to fix. I mean, consensus-driven, Ingrid elaborated on that, Kees elaborated on that, that tends to point to slow processes. And if you use the word timely delivery or something in there, you already address a big part of what you just said.
Okay. Good suggestion.
Yeah, so by getting the token so late, most of my points have just been made by the previous two speakers. But when I read the previous slide, I also thought I missed the collaboration. What makes GÉANT unique? And I missed the, but we're not in our little closed community where we work for ourselves, so we don't have to look outside. And I think those two elements are very important to capture in the very first. So the previous slide, it should be captured there, that we are not operating in splendid isolation and we work with each other. And the word consensus really concerns me.
Yeah, I see where that concerns, because it indicates a certain slowness of process. But as you weren't here when I was starting off, on the other hand, most of the internet is driven by consensus. Yes. I think that's an important difference. Yes. Well, if you would have been here for the first slide, and you would have seen the sub-bullet, it says not unanimity below it.
Then apology.
Okay. Niels?
Touching a little bit on the trust aspect again, I think for starters the sequence of bullets hidden in the long sentence is wrong, because trust is number one. Trust is not only technical trust, trust is also the fact that we as a group of NRENs decide to collaborate. If we want to build services and share these services, we will need trust for that. Again, technical trust, contractual trust. So actually trust should be number one there, and on top of that you can collaborate and do innovation and all the other stuff that's in there.
I think that's a good remark. Anne?
I'd actually like to ask a question. What's the purpose of this ambition statement? Because when I'm working with people within GÉANT, if I were to try and inspire them in their day-to-day work when it gets really horrible with that, it's got all the right bits, but it's like, what is the purpose of this? Is it to mark us out as a community to the funders? Is it to really drive how we want to go through the next 7 years together? What is it?
Well, it's certainly the latter, and let me bounce that question back to you. What would you say to those people? What would you say is the ambition?
A lot of the things that we went around the room are in there, and it's sort of to try and take that and de-jargon it down to the simplest bullet points, like Ingrid said, and some key words. And then we as activity leaders and as managers within the NRENs have to build this into our day-to-day work and take it seriously and not just go, well, GÉANT is a project and it's separately over here. We have a genuine, shared, rough consensus, collective ambition. Let's do it.
Okay. 10 minutes. Thank you, Niels, for the warning. Okay, I don't have to walk down all the way because there's a microphone on the other side.
I'm a little somewhere between concerned and disappointed that we're discussing in detail an ambition statement rather than a solid commitment being made by this entity as what it will deliver, and not what it would be kind of nice if we get to one day, and we won't use words that actually commit to measurable, accessible targets anywhere in there.
Yes and no. Yes, that would be really wonderful, and no, in the sense that I don't think that I really think that a strategy has to have ambitions that can be more than realistic goals. That can be you know, more. We want to go out and discover new planets. However, based on that strategy, we should create project proposals that have exactly what you say. And the strategy should allow us to derive those exact and measurable things from that strategy.
So, sorry. So, if you're saying the ambition should be slightly beyond our reach, which of the clauses of that statement do you think aren't realistic?
I think the trust one, for example, will be really difficult to achieve because several aspects of that are unfortunately not within our power to achieve, as Stephen Farrell has clearly pointed out at this talk.
Thank you. And Rodrigo again from Gala. Just asking just to be sure, I'm reading this ambition proposal or statement as a decision, as that you work for the NRENs. You don't go even near the end user, and that's for the NRENs to do, right? Just to clarify that. Because at some point somebody said that which way should we go? Should we go to the end user, to the universities, to the NRENs, or maybe even a little higher? Just to be clear.
Yeah, I think that's one of the points that. Oh, you wanted to say something like that too? Well, I have a microphone here. I think that's that's one of the ongoing discussions, and not just in GÉANT, by the way. I think most of the NRENs have that discussion. Does an NREN deliver services directly to an end user, or does it deliver services to the university?
We are having the same discussion back in Gala, and we are working on some kind of. I'm working on a marketing plan for Gala, and I'm saying we should just stick to the NRENs, right? And the NRENs should go to the universities and to the users. Right. But they should.
But by the time you end,
this is really personal, you know. Right. I think that they should really care about the end user experience, and I think in this ambition it's implied by the trust word, but maybe it should be a little more explicit. And how does GÉANT involves in that connection, and how does the NREN assume or assimilates this condition? I think it should be a restriction somehow, you know. Yeah, that's just a personal point of view. You know.
Thank you.
Suggestion. Yeah.
Case?
Yeah, to come back to this ambition statement and what Ingrid already said and about the commitment. This is not an inspiring ambition. It's difficult to read, it's difficult to understand, and if you want to have consensus about what to do about it, you will be in trouble, I think. So my suggestion would be to change the ambition statement completely and focus on what you are, a collaboration, and say our ambition is to be a successful collaboration that is trusted by the users and delivers in time everything they need on the European e-infrastructure. And then the rest should be to-do points, things you want to action on, execute and deliver, etc., but separate as bullet points.
Thanks for that suggestion. I got 5 more minutes. Any one of the SIG members who is itching to react to what we've heard so far? You don't have to, but I want to give you the opportunity. Anything else? Because my next slide would go through way deeper, but then it's not useful to put up one slide because that's a whole series. And if I put up one slide, you would say this is missing, and I would say it's on the next slide. So behind you is another question.
One word to this talking of GÉANT to the end user. I think that the service is brought to the end user through the NREN, but communicating with the stopping communication with the end user, I wouldn't go this path, or I wouldn't just to say I would not like if you go this path. I'm an end user. I'm at KIT at Karlsruhe, and I would not like to stop talking to you.
Right. That's a clear statement. So let me finish off by this session by thanking you really very much, because I think this I found this really useful, and I think my fellow SIG members will agree that this it's been a really useful session, and we have lots and lots of work to do, and we have like 14 days to do it. So we will take all this input and the ones from other sessions and work with that and try and draft something that is, I'm not going to use the word consensus, but something that reflects the comments as much as possible, keeping in mind that we are really focusing at writing a strategy, not a tactics. And we hopefully have a new version ready in time for the NRNPC General Assembly meeting in Paris end of June, and after that hopefully it will soon be publicly available again for your consumption. Thank you very much. I think I have a practical thing to say. Junji told me something. Oh yes, there's buses to the airport. This afternoon there's no lunch provided. There's buses to the airport, and if you want to take those buses to the airport, you have to buy a ticket. You can do that at the registration desk. And please, will you fill in your comments on the various sessions you attended so that we can improve the conference for next year? Well, that's impossible, of course, but to make it almost as good as this year's conference. Thank you very much.